Hi everyone, LabGnome here, and I'm going to give you a quick how to play video followed by an actual run through of the solo experience for Twilight Inscription, an epic roll and write game based on the Twilight Imperium universe. If all that sounds Greek to you, don't worry about it. Basically, a roll and write is you roll dice, shocker, and you write on sheets as you play the game, which unlocks points or unlocks various things for you that lets you scribble even more. It's, like I said, epic. It's a bigger one. It plays in about 2 hours. So if you were looking for a more novice roll and write experience, there are some games out there that are more of that variety. But Twilight Imperium is all about big, so this guy's a bit bigger. Like I said, it plays into 2 hours, and that seems to be pretty consistent and reliable. And so if you want a big epic roll and write experience that is 2 hours or less, then this would be your guy. Without further ado, let's get into the setup so we can get started on a solo playthrough, which plays very similar to up to 8-player experience, and I will go over that in the video so you'll understand. In the game is a rulebook, as well as a play as you learn guide, which is how we're going to start our first few rounds. It has a setup for your first time you're learning it. We will set that up and we will go through it all. And then we will do an entire game that way. We'll be doing a solo play. So this game can do 1 to 8 players, and we are going to do 1 player. The mechanics are very similar, and I will explain how they are different in a game with more than 1 player. Next, you'll set up your 4 player sheets. There is navigation, expansion, industry, and warfare. You will notice it forms a colored diamond right here if you line them up correctly, or is how they're typically set up. You'll also notice there's little numbers on these corners. It says B on these ones. This is what we'll be playing for the tutorial, and there is the same. This is the same on across all the B sheets. But if you flip them over, there's an A sheet, which allows for variation in what the different sheets have and where they are. Next, we have our event cards. You'll notice that they go from number 1 to 5. In the Learn to Play, you will make sure to set these ones up in order. Fledgling Empire, Echoes of the Past, First Ventures, and Toward a New Home. Those ones will go on top. And then from that point on, you will just have randomly blue, black, blue, black, blue, black, and you'll have them in sequential numbers. So you'll have 5 different decks stacked on top of each other. And that will be our event deck. Next, you'll have a bunch of cards to shuffle. These ones with the check marks are your agenda cards. Shuffle the ones with the same numbers on the backs. Shuffle the different factions. Shuffle the relic deck. Shuffle the objective deck. Now there's 4 different categories in here. You can shuffle them individually or do as I do, where you just shuffle them in a mishmash, and then set aside 1 for each sheet. So there's the expansion, warfare, industry, and navigation. Then finally, hand out this handy dandy cheat sheet that has asset references on it. Next, you'll take your faction deck and hand out 3 to every player. Obviously, since it's just us, we will have 3 factions to choose from. Every player will choose one of those factions that they will play for the rest of the game. In this case, I have chosen the Mentak Coalition. They have an ability that's always active, and then they have one that is active when you claim this asset. And that is the icon right there in that corner. So anytime you get that, you get to do this ability. This is the Mechatol Rex sheet. This is for the 3 to 8 player side, and it has spots for everyone as they claim Mechatol Rex. On the flip side is the one for single player and 2 player. Since we'll be doing a single player run through, we will be using this side. And this is more or less what our board will look like when it is ready to go. The way you win in Twilight Inscription is by getting victory points, which are these symbols here, and they show up on all of the different sheets. Every round, we will be flipping over an event from the top of the deck. Most of them will be strategy events, which let you pick a sheet and then you roll and write on that sheet. In this case, since we are doing the Learn to Play, the first 4 rounds we don't get to pick. We will be going through Navigation, Expansion, Industry, and Warfare. So the first one, we are going to do Navigation. The first step on any strategy is you get to spend these resources. There'll be different resources on each card, but for this one, we have 2 blue. Every sheet is a little different, but on Navigation, blue resources let us claim 1 explored system. So, in this case, claiming is we take any of these systems that have an orange line going to them, and systems are these circles, and we circle them to claim them. So in this case, I will claim this one, and this one. I have now claimed 2 things. I have done this part. So then I go to the next one, where it says Speaker rolls dice. Basically, all Speaker means is whoever is in charge of keeping the game running smoothly and rolling the dice. So I will go ahead and roll the dice. And there we go. I like to sort them out by black ones and then the colored ones, which are called focus dice. And then we get to spend those dice resources. Now, we don't have focus dice yet, but you can unlock them. These guys are like the resources we just talked about. So we have these ones that let us claim, and then these ones, if you look over here, the pink and the green ones let us explore adjacent systems. So you have to always be adjacent to a line or a claim that you've already circled or written in. You'll notice at the start of the game, we have some already drawn in, including our home system for our faction. So I have 2 explorers and 1 claim from the black dice. I like the idea of having 2 planets, so I'm going to go ahead and do 1 explorer, 1 claim, and then that leaves me with 1 more explorer left to go. So what do I want to do with that one? Well, let's go ahead and check out our objective for this game, Prospector. So this one I get 5 points if I'm first, and if I'm second or other, I get 3 points. So I have to claim 5 different planets, and that's the name of this particular asset. So I will probably try to branch out to try to get more of those. In addition, another way you get points on the navigation sheet, besides these actual point assets, is by claiming Mechatol Rex. Whoever gets there first gets a bigger bonus, second a lesser bonus, and so on. In a solo game, the AI, or dummy player if you will, is also going to be approaching Mechatol Rex throughout the game. So we will try to make sure we get to Mechatol Rex before our dummy player does. And the dummy player, or AI, works the same way across single player and 2-player games. So finally, I'll use my last explorer to go towards another planet. This seems like a good choice. Now, going through a quick rundown of all the different icons that you will be seeing on here, don't worry, you'll see them more in action later, but just up front, you have relics, which when you take a relic, you will draw 1 relic off the top of the relic card deck and do whatever it says, or you can use it later. It will also have points on the bottom of it, which you will write down here to know that that's points you get at the end of the game. Here is Mechatol Rex, as previously mentioned. Over here, you will have wormholes. Wormholes are considered adjacent to all other wormholes, so it lets you travel around quickly throughout the map. One thing of note for us, since we're actually going to do a single play run through, is this relic and this whole area can only be accessed by this wormhole. So we might want to get that ability to travel through wormholes. However, we do not start out with that ability. Over here we have 2 technologies. Every sheet is going to have 2 technologies that are relevant to that sheet. In this case, Gravity Drive allows us to travel through wormholes. The way we can unlock the Gravity Drive is by crossing out either the resource costs or this asset. In order to cross them out, we have to spend them. And you will see these assets appear later on. Same with Integrated Economy, for example. We have these resources that we can spend from our dice/strategy cards, or we can get this asset and use it to pay for it all. You'll also notice here we have dice icons. As we unlock the ability to use focus dice, you will be keeping track of them, and you'll just do a line through like so. Other symbols that you're seeing on this board, over here on this side and this side, you will have modifiers to your combat, or your war rating, if you will. We will get into that later with the warfare strategy card sheet. Over here we have commodities. You'll notice there's red, blue, and yellow. We'll get into those more later as well, but that is what all these symbols are up front. You'll also notice over here we have this area for calculating points at the end of the game. This is for when you complete the objective. This is for what other points you have, including ones you've written down because of Mechatol Rex and relics, and that gives you a subtotal. You add up all 4 sheets, whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. Also not mentioned, but of note, here is a faction symbol. So you can also activate your faction ability by claiming this asset. In this case, we chose the Mentak Coalition, which means I would get the ambush ability, which lets me deploy 2 cruisers. That is a warfare ability. We will get into that soon. And we have now completed a round of Twilight Inscription. So now we can go ahead and flip to the next event. This is another strategy event. In this case, since we're going through all 4 sheets over 4 rounds to teach the game, we will go ahead and go to expansion. These are the resources we can spend. In order to spend resources on the expansion sheet, we will need to unlock some planets first. How do you unlock planets? Well, we got them as assets over in the navigation board, as you can see. We circled or claimed 2 from navigation last round. So let's go ahead and claim 2 of these planets. But it's also worth noting that the planet asset can also be used to get you space docks. Space docks are one of the ways you can unlock focus dice. And you can spend those assets like any other asset. In this case, you will spend those assets once you have claimed them to unlock dice on future sheets, or including the one you're actively working on. So in this case, we will definitely want to be working on some planets. Planets will have a whole bunch of different things we can get. And the way planets work is you'll cross off the resources shown on the planet. So let's say we go ahead and pick, let's see, what looks like a good choice. Definitely like the idea of working on deploying cruisers very easily with our faction symbol. So let's go ahead and unlock this giant planet here. Notice it's giant, has all these resources required. These are the ones we can spend this round. And the way you spend them is you basically just cross them out. There we go. We are almost there, and this is why. The way you unlock these different assets on the planets is by completing the row or column that corresponds to it. In this case, that we complete this column, we immediately get to do our faction's ability, and it's different for every faction. So So if you see anyone doing anything weird or screwy, it is most likely because they unlock that, or they're a filthy, filthy cheater. Anyway, so that's how those work. You can also cross them out here. You do not have to spend planets to get space docks. You can instead start working your way down on completing these. You can do a planet, or you can do the resources displayed. Remember, you can always erase stuff if you mess up. So there we go. We have done the first step on Echoes of the Past. Now we roll. All right, now we can use these black dice however we wish to use them. Now, what could I do with them? Well, I have one of these ones I need to unlock my faction ability. So we'll go ahead and do that, but we'll wait till we get to the warfare sheet to cover how that works, although you would do it immediately. I can also cross off some more here. I could work on some of these. Since I'm already kind of working down here, it seems like it might make sense to unlock some of these other things. Let's go ahead and start working on this commodity. Commodities will make more sense as we get to industry, but know that that is a commodity. Also, I like the idea of having more focus dice to use on subsequent future turns. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock one of these guys. I am thinking that one of the better options for us... Let's go ahead and unlock a green die. So we're spending one of our planet assets to do this. Now we could go ahead and put the green die here on expansion. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet, so we'll wait on that. But know that we could spend this asset to do so. Going back to our navigation sheet, I have used 2 planet assets. This is just to note that I have claimed them, but I have spent them. You just give them a little cross out. Again, like the navigation sheet, we have our objective we can complete, our points from the sheet to give us a subtotal at the end of the game. We also have 2 technologies we can unlock. We can either do it with the specialty asset icons, just like navigation, or we can cross these out and eventually get to it. Up here is a resource tracker. This is an optional thing for you to use, but sometimes if you have a lot of different resources to mull through, it might be handy to be able to use it to keep track. So for example, in this one, let's say I had all the focus dice unlocked. I would have 1, 2, 3 of that resource. I would also have 3, 1, 2, 3 of that one. And in this one, I also have 3. 1, 2, 3. Now as I'm spending them, I can just keep track of it. So let's say I use these 3 to unlock a space dock. I would just go ahead and erase them off. And that's just a handy dandy way for me to know what I've used already, so I don't get lost. Completely optional. Also of note is the population track. Whole bunch of points. You get population by claiming these. And you go from bottom to the top. So as your population gets greater and greater, the bonuses you get for victory points becomes higher and higher. Keep that in mind. Besides the specialty assets, we also have votes. And that will become relevant when we get to the industry sheet and council events. But for now, just know that symbol is votes. And anytime you're lost, remember we also have our asset reference card to help us. All right, let's move on. Now we move on to our next event. First Ventures. It is another strategy one. Since we are doing the tutorial, let's go ahead and move on to Industry. The industry sheet keeps track of a whole bunch of different assets for us. Votes and trade goods. These are unlocked through trade events and council events. And we'll get to those later. But suffice to say, that is how you get those. Like any event, we get to spend these resources first. Let's go over what that does. Scrap one unmarked space adjacent to any marked space. So, in this case, scrapping means putting an X through any of these. However, they must be adjacent. So, let's go ahead and take a look and see what we want to do this. We can scrap up to 3. I'd rather enjoy unlocking dice, and I also like faction ability. So I think a good way to do that is do 1 scrap here and 1 scrap here. So we're already to our faction ability for later. And let's just do 1 here so we approach that red dice. Alright, so we have scrapped 3 spaces. Now we may roll. Alright. These are what we have. So, let's go over what these different things mean. We already covered scrapping. These ones and these ones let us claim one unmarked space adjacent to a scrapped space. So, we now have a whole bunch of different scrapped spaces that we can claim adjacent to it. Now, I could claim this faction ability and deploy yet again 2 more cruisers, and we'll go into that when I go to the warfare sheet, because we already did that on expansion, if you recall. But I think that might be a little bit of overkill this early in the game. Let's wait till we actually need it, because warfare, as you'll find out, is more or less just about being able to beat your neighbors. If you beat them, there's no reason to go much higher unless you just want that security blanket. And don't we all? So let's go ahead and start claiming some stuff. And maybe scrapping some more. I got 1 scrap. I can get to this one, and I'll show you how. So I'm going to go ahead and scrap this one. And now I can do 2 claims. When you claim, it must be adjacent to a scrapped space. So here we go. I'm going to claim a red dice, focus dice asset. And let's go ahead and get a vote. Alright, so now that is basically a turn on industry. And you'll be more or less moving around on these different spaces to try to unlock, claim different things. You have a lot of dice on this one, so a lot of focus dice can be unlocked from this sheet, along with commodities. And we'll of course get into what commodities are when we continue on with industry. Of note, you also have these specialty assets shown here and here. When you use specialty assets, you can go ahead and scrap adjacent to them. And it lets you bounce around to other corners of your industry sheet, which can be quite powerful, as you see, because some of them are right next to dice assets, some are right next to commodity assets, which is pretty useful. Getting into commodities. Over here, you have commodities that you can cross out. And the way the commodities work, sorry, just erasing stuff. We kind of love this game, and it shows. Over here, you can get trade goods. And the way you get trade goods is by unlocking these commodities as you go. I have not done any this round, but if you recall, I did do 1 in navigation. So I would just cross it off here. When you complete a column, you will underline that trade goods spot, denoting that you have +1 trade goods whenever a trade event occurs, which means you will just circle here and have a trade good for future use. Trade goods are useful because they count as any resource when you spend them. And that will make more sense as we go along. Votes are for when we get to the council phase. And that just allows you to vote on a pass or a fail for different measures that come up. Over here, we also have victory points that you can get from crossing off things on your commodity sheet. Also, we have technologies, just like other sheets. You can spend a specialty asset, or you can cross these off to claim them. You have your objective you can work on, and if you complete, you get points. Any points you've got from your sheet to make a subtotal that you'll add up at the end of the game. Next, we move on to our next event. Toward a New Home. It is again another strategy. Since we're doing the tutorial, we will go to Warfare. And this will be our active sheet that we're working on. So, we have these 3 resources that we can spend on Warfare. The way Warfare works is you will have deployment lines, which are these straight orange lines. Every time there is a war, we will draw a new one and then proceed to count up our total values against our left neighbor. If you'll note here, there is a left and a right side. You don't need to draw that line, but it's there. If you beat your left neighbor, you have more of these dots drawn over than them, you will win, which means you claim that top asset. If you lose, you will claim this bottom asset, which is negative points. And same with your right neighbor. Since we are playing a single player game, you will compare against, for both, the same AI. In a 2-player game, the player you're playing with, they'll compare whatever side of them you are on versus the AI. So that way you'll have an AI opponent and one human opponent. In a regular game, you will just have your left and right side opponents. So how do we deploy and build things? If you'll note here, there's all these different shapes you can make, and they correspond to the different units you can create. We have 3 pinks, which infantry can always be any combination of those. Infantry are pretty simple. They're just a dot. The rules for placing units is that they have to be adjacent to another unit or your deployment line. So right now, we can have 3 infantry on the board, but I also know I already have built my cruisers. If you recall, on expansion, I unlocked my faction ability. If you look at my faction, it has this ability that says ambush, deploy 2 cruisers. I immediately get to deploy 2 cruisers when I did that. Since this is a tutorial, I saved it till we got to the warfare sheet. Here is how cruisers are shaped. So I'm going to go ahead and put down 2 cruisers. Remember, they have to start adjacent to the deployment line. So they can be rotated. So I am going to go ahead and put a cruiser like so. Any assets that you come across when you're doing the shape of your unit you're building just become yours and you circle them. So that's a point. I get to deploy 2 cruisers, so let's go ahead and find another nice spot for cruisers. Now, I could do one that's kind of vertical like this, but I kind of like the idea of starting something horizontal. Now, I want to beat up the AI on both sides, so I'm going to go ahead and put one that's adjacent. This dot is adjacent to that. And there's my second cruiser. All right. Now that we've kind of did a little backtracking, let's go ahead and complete this in order. I can make 3 infantry. Cool. Infantry, again, just take up single dots. Or I could choose to work on cruisers and get myself a cruiser. I can't work on dreadnoughts or war suns yet, as I need to spend a specialty asset to unlock them before I can even start working on them. So I seem to like cruisers. Maybe I'll keep going the cruiser route. The same token, I also like the idea of the flexibility that infantry give me. So what I believe I will do is I will go ahead and hop one over and then another over. So I have spent 2 of that resource. And finally with the next one, I'm going to put a dot here. So I'm pretty darn close to getting all the points on this warfare sheet. Go ahead and roll. All right, here we go. So the way I could spend these, again, infantry is always an option. I could also start working on cruisers. And when you complete them, you do get points. Something to keep in mind. So, what I believe I will do, seems like I already have a lot of stuff out. So I'm going to go ahead and use an infantry to get this point. And I'll use one of these resources to do it. I'll do one more infantry. And let's go ahead and... let's see, we got a strength of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. So let's just go ahead and add an infantry to this one. There we go. And then finally, with this resource, I think I want to start working on this guy. It seems like it's pretty easy for me to just ramp out cruisers very quickly because of my faction ability. So I am going to go ahead and spend this towards a technology. Particular fleet logistics. Now, if I cross out these other 2, I will have unlocked fleet logistics for any time I use that warfare sheet. Also, of course, it has focus dice we can unlock, an objective sheet, points, and then a subtotal. As we go through the game and do wars, we will have an advancing deployment line. As the deployment line advances, the previous war, if you will, it's been done, so then you will deploy above the newest line of deployment, and new rewards and negative points will be available as a result. Also of note, these red hexagons you'll see here, they are anomalies, and you cannot build over them unless a faction ability lets you. Alright, we have spent all our things, and we are more or less have done the first 4 rounds of the tutorial. The next thing of note is Mechatol Rex sheet. Now, since we're doing a single player game, we can be one of the founding factions, or the AI can be. And more or less, what we'll be doing throughout the game is we'll be racing against the AI to Mechatol Rex. These represent different stages of the game. Each stage of the game, after the first one, will have a war. And then every stage, except the first and fifth, will also have a council meeting. And these represent the 4 objectives that we can get through the course of the game. When you roll each round, you will take the focus dice and cross out the symbols shown on those focus dice. That represents the AI approaching objectives. And you're basically in a race to get them before they do, or decide strategically that it is not a good idea for you. We have gone through 4 rounds, so I have a little bit of backtracking to do, but I figured it would be easier to explain that before jumping into Mechatol Rex. So I have gone ahead and done a backtrack of all the focus dice that have been rolled in those 4 rounds. This represents the progress of the AI so far. So far as we can see, we're not really worrying about war too much. Our strength is pretty good against the AI. Our ability to vote against the AI, and we'll get through that during the voting phase, is also pretty high. And Along here, we don't have much to worry about, but eventually they will get to these objectives. Over here is how you represent the AI getting to Mechatol Rex. So you'll also want to make sure you can beat them to Mechatol Rex if it's a good idea. Okay, now this is where we're going to diverge from the tutorial. From now on, we are free to choose whatever sheets we want during the strategy events, and we just continue on until the end of the game, which is when these guys are depleted. So let's go ahead and go to the next event. All right, so this one is a war event. Border conflict. Advance the deployment line. So there we go. We have advanced the deployment line. Then we resolve a war against each neighbor using the sections immediately below the deployment line. So, since we're doing a solo game, the way we determine the strength of our neighbors is we take the AI or dummy player's military strength and just compare it on both sides. If we were in a two-player game, the side that has our player that we're playing with or against, we'd compare their strength versus ours, and then we would compare versus the side with that would be the AI. So if we look at this sheet, we see that 3 is as high as the AI got to. One thing to keep in mind, we are playing on easy mode, if you will, which means that we only start with the ones that are slashed on the sheet. But a lot of these tracks will be advanced when you're playing on medium and hard. All right, so now we're going to compare strength. The AI has 3. If you do the counting up, we have more than 3 on each side. So this is a war that we won on the left side, and we win also the war on the right side. So we got ourselves a planet asset and this specialty asset. Now another thing to keep in mind is since we are playing as the Mentak Coalition, after we win a war, we claim 1 trade good. So going over to our industry sheet, we get to claim a trade good. So we'll just circle a trade good asset. Like so. And now we have a trade good that we can use at any time as any resource. All right. Then we will go ahead and go on to our next event. Strategy. Relics rediscovered. Choose an active sheet and spend those cards' resources. Speaker rolls dice, spend dice resources. We're pretty familiar with that by this point. So let's go ahead and start strategizing about where we want to go on our different respective sheets. If you recall, on industry, we got pretty close to our ambush ability. So I think industry might be a good choice for this round. We get to do 1 claim, which is pretty handy. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that right away. We have claimed our faction ability again. This time we're going to do it immediately. So let's go hopping over to our warfare sheet. We get to deploy 2 cruisers. Now one thing to note when it says deploy versus build, build is when you cross them off over here, deploy is you just make them. So now that we get to deploy, I think good idea to snag this point here. And, let's also grab this one. Now one thing to note, when you claim these ones that don't have the dash lines where they have these little circles, it's something that happens immediately. Whereas ones that have the dash line, they're either victory points that you count up at the end of the game, or they're an asset that you can spend throughout the game. So this one's an immediate thing. It's the population symbol from expansion. So if we go over to our expansion sheet, we now get to circle the first one. Also, I have not shown what our objectives are for this game, but you'll have 4 each round, or I mean not each round, each game. Over here, we have secured assets. So this one, we get to claim 6 asset nodes. We have done that, so we will flip it over. In a normal game, you would flip it over to denote that the rest of the players are only going to get 3 points for doing so for the rest of the game. We'll go ahead and write in our points from that objective, because we have met it. We have claimed 6 different asset nodes. Which also means we don't have to worry about the AI getting to that before we do. Moving on, let's go back to our industry sheet. We have done our 1 claim, so now we'll roll our dice. Okay. We don't have any focus dice yet, so we can't use any of those ones, but we do have these resources that we can use. Looking at these, we have 2 claims and 1 scrap. So, we could use this asset to get ourselves a pink dice, or whatever resource that's actually called. However, I don't think now's the time for that. I think a different sheet would be better for it. So let's go ahead and start working on trade goods. It would be really nice to get this one, because we only need to get that 1 commodity to get a +1 trade good during trade. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's 1 claim. I also like the idea of working towards some more dice. So let's go ahead and do a scrap here. And then let's do a claim here. That will have been all of our resources. So we claimed 1 of those commodities and 1 of those commodities. Since this whole column has been filled up, we'll go ahead and underline it. So every time there's a trade event, we will get +1 trade goods. We already have 1 here, which we could use this round to claim or scrap something. I don't think there's a good enough reason to do it this round, so I will just say we'll move on from there. And sure enough, we have a production event, redefine trade routes. So you claim 1 trade good on industry for each unlocked +1 trade good icon in your industry chart. We have 1, so we get 1. Let's also note that we have the Mintac Coalition, which during production events, I claim an additional trade goods. So we will get 2 trade goods. And now we're up to 3 trade goods on our industry sheet. Okay, now we're on another strategy card. For this event, I think we will go back to navigation. This time, I think we'll spend that asset we had gotten, the pink dice asset, on industry. And we will go ahead and be able to use that this round. All right, so we do these 2 first, where we claim 1 explored system. Unfortunately, don't have a lot of great options on that front right away. But we also have trade goods we can use. I think for the purposes, though, we'll go ahead and claim these 2. So we have one of those red triangle commodities that we had just claimed, so we'll just go ahead and cross it off there. on the industry sheet. And now we have claimed 2 things. We roll our dice. All right, let's see what we got to work with. All right. So this time around, we have the pink focus dice that we can work with, which gives us 2 explorers plus another 2 here. So we have 4 explorers and a claim. So we can get moving pretty far along. I think it's a good time to start making a beeline to Mechatol Rex. So let's see which our shortest path is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll go this round. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then we also get 1 claim. We're doing pretty good on these commodities, so we'll go ahead and do this guy. That'll be 4 points for us. Not too shabby. We also have trade goods that we could spend on this round, and it might be a good idea to do so. We can't quite get to Mechatol Rex, but we could use 1 trade good to explore and then claim that planet, which would give us another planet we could work on in expansion. Or we could wait for a more opportune opportunity, which is what I think we should do. So let's go ahead and go to the next event. Oh wait, haha, that is not what we need to do. We also need to do our focus dice with our dummy AI. So, cross out that one because 2 pink side on the pink die, and then 1 green, and 1 blue. We haven't had our vote yet, and it looks like our dummy player is going to have a lot of votes. It's also getting closer and closer to Mechatol Rex, so that might be of concern for us. Okay, next event. Our next event is Council. So this is where we're going to actually do some voting. We go over to our industry sheet, claim 1 vote on industry for each unlocked vote icon in your industry chart. So this +1 voting. You'll start out with 1 automatically, so we have 1 of those. We actually forgot to give ourselves an extra 1 because of this right here. So we actually have +2 votes this round. So I'm going to go ahead and circle our votes. So we have 4 votes to do. Now, to do votes in a single player game is a little trickier. Normally in a 3-player game or more, you would just draw 1 of these and you would read out loud the pass and the fail, and people would secretly vote whether they wanted to pass and fail and how many votes they were going to spend. The votes you spend will always be spent. So be careful not to spend them on things you don't care much about. However, in single player and 2-player, you will take 1 and then match it up with 1 that has one of the star icons on it that is opposite. So what I mean by that is you'll want either this star icon on your pass or your fail, and the other one to not have that. It's worded a little weirdly in the manual, but suffice to say, basically what you want to have happen is you want the pass to have an opposite symbol to the fail symbol. Basically the idea is the dummy AI is always going to vote in a way that doesn't help the players, and so you have to beat out its votes if you want it to not succeed. So we have our pass with the star and then our fail without 1. I like to use the speaker card to cover all that up. So now we just have these options in front of us. Pass. On Warfare, each player may deploy 3 infantry or 1 PDS. Fail. On Warfare, each player crosses out the asset above the strength box for 1 future war. If they win that war, they do not claim an asset. So we're the Mentak. We are pretty war hungry. I don't think we like the idea of this succeeding, the fail. So we're going to vote against the dummy AI. Now, one thing about the dummy AI is you will roll a dice to determine if it gets some extra votes. So this one gives it +0. So that's nice. The dummy AI has 3 votes, so we have to vote either 3 for nothing to happen or 4 towards pass to get the pass. We're going to go ahead and spend all our votes to get the pass. So we will get our warfare sheet out and deploy 3 infantry or 1 PDS. Okay, I like the idea of doing 3 infantry, even though it doesn't quite get us both of the assets, but does let us kind of get a few things here. So we're going to do this one to increase our population, and we'll do this and this to kind of inch our way closer to 1 point. Since we did a population, we will also go to our expansion sheet and circle the next population. And we have completed this event. We will cross off our 4 votes that we spent, and we'll move on to the next event. Border defense. So again, this is a strategy, so we get to pick which sheet we want to work on, the active sheet. Now let's see, we don't need to do much warfare. We're doing very well against the AI on that front. It's only got a strength of 2 at the moment. Let's see. Trade goods are definitely nice to try to get more of, so we could stick with industry again. But I think we should go ahead and try to get to Mechatol Rex before the AI. Let's outpace it on that. So let's do the navigation sheet. So again, we have claims that we can do. So maybe we might not want to choose this one to go with right away. We could, however, use some of those trade goods to make those claims more effective for us. I think we will go ahead and use 1 trade good. So we will use 1 trade good to do an explore. And then we will use one of these to do a claim. So we claim the planet asset. And we'll use one to claim another commodity. So going over to industry, where the commodities are, we would go ahead and cross out the next one. And our trade good, lest we forget. All right. Now we will go ahead and roll. Okay. Looks like we have 3 explorers and 1 claim. That will definitely get us to Mechatol Rex. So let's do 1 explorer, 2 explorer, our claim. So we have now claimed Mechatol Rex. And then we can do 1 more explorer. Let's go ahead and start heading towards a relic over here. Relics are pretty nice to have. Seems like a good idea to get one of those. We have spent our black dice and our 1 pink focus dice. Now we just need to go to our dummy/AI sheet and cross off things on the focus dice. Okay, while we're on the sheet, we also get to put in that we are the first founder. Back over here, on Mechatol Rex, we'll write in 7, because we got 7 points for going to Mechatol Rex first. We also unlocked 3 votes. If you look on the Mechatol Rex sheet, there's also votes that you win. So then we'll go ahead and circle 3 more votes. All right, and then we'll go to the next event. Okay, we already have another council meeting. One thing I forgot to do on the last vote was cross these out. You don't have to necessarily do this, but just so you can keep track of what stage you're in and you're crossing off the right things as you go, that'd be the best way to keep good track of it. So the AI hasn't had much time to build up a lot of votes, which is good for us, because we're back up to 3 because we got Mechatol Rex. All right, so let's go ahead and get out our next voting cards. There's our stage 3s. And once again, we're looking for one that has a star and one without. There we go. And then I like to put the speaker card over the middle text that is kind of there. All right, pass. On Warfare, each player crosses out all of their unbuilt cruisers. Those units cannot be built. Fail. On Expansion, each player may cross out up to 2 resource icons on each unlocked planet. I like the idea of being able to still build my cruisers, but at the same time, I deploy them without putting much effort into it. So this isn't that big of a deal. This isn't going to help me very much because on Expansion, I have only unlocked 1 planet. So crossing up to 2 resource icon on each unlocked planet kind of loses its luster, if you will. So as a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to go ahead and abstain from voting on this and keep my votes, and we'll go ahead and get the negative consequence. We're going to cross out all the cruisers. They cannot be built. Let's go to our Warfare sheet. And we're going to cross out every cruiser. We can't build those, but we can still deploy them. Other players would be cursing us, whereas as the Mentac's like, we still get to do that. We just use our faction ability for it. However, in the future, we might want to start building PDS and unlocking and building Dreadnoughts / War Suns. We will go ahead and cross out that vote for stage 3. We have done it. Next event. It is another strategy. So now we can use that one. Looking at the different sheets, we kind of decide which one would be best to use. I feel like it might be a good idea to keep working on industry. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. If we look at our objective, this is the objective we try to make. 3 commodity. We have to claim 3 of each commodity, and there's 3 types. So that's something to also work towards, and it also gives us more money to spend where we want it. So, looking at our sheet, if we do one of these yellow ones, we'll get an extra trade good during production. So, we'll do that as our claim. So we'll roll our dice. All right, so we can do a lot of scrapping, but one thing to keep in mind was we still have 2 trade goods that we can use as well. So, let's see. I think, since we saved up votes, I think we'll be okay for next stage is voting. So we're going to have to scrap that one instead of claiming it. And then we'll use a trade good to claim a blue die. And let's go ahead and use it for this sheet, which gives us 2 more claims. Now remember, you can't claim adjacent to a claim. It has to be adjacent to a scrap. So that's one thing to keep in mind as we do this. Also, another thing to keep in mind is trying to get all the different commodities. So far, we've done 2 of the yellow ones and 1 of the blue ones. So we're a bit behind on that front. Might have made a mistake. We'll see. Let's go ahead and, since we have 2 more scraps, I think getting one of these doubles would be fantastic. Let's do 2 scraps on these ones, and then let's spend this focus die we unlocked. Gives us 2 claims, so let's do that one and that one. So we claim 2 of the red ones. Once you get to the end of the track, you go ahead and gain the asset, and we also got 2 of the blue ones. Alright, that's pretty good. We have now done 3 blues, 2 reds, and 2 yellows. So we're cruising right along on that front. That is all we can really do for this round, unless we want to spend a trade good, which I don't think is a great idea right now. We'll go to our dummy, cross off one of those double blues, one of those double pinks, and one of those singular greens. If we had not claimed Mechatol Rex, they would have claimed it ahead of us at this time. But it does mean they're getting closer to getting the warfare objective, which we have also already done. So no worries there. Next event. War. All right. When diplomacy fails. All right, just like the previous one, we advance our deployment line. And then we compare strength. The dummy didn't do much. And it's very rude to call him dummy, but we'll keep calling him a dummy. So he is a strength of 3. We have 5 on this side, 4 on this side. So we're good there. We claim this one and this one. So we have a red die we can spend somewhere. It's also worthy of note that I haven't been paying much attention to the fact that it's like, I have this unlocked or claimed. I could spend this specialty asset somewhere. And I also have a planet asset here on Warfare that I can still spend. Right away, I have once again triggered my faction ability. Ambush, deploy 2 cruisers. So I can go ahead and put them on this new deployment line. And I think we'll once again go for population. Remember that we have to be adjacent to that deployment line. There we go. 2 cruisers. 2 shiny new cruisers. Then we'll go over to our expansion sheet. We got 2 population. And that is our war. On to the next event. Alright, this is a strategy, and we get to pick what we want, and then, 3 of those pinks, so might be a good idea to think of one where having 3 of those would be of the most benefit. Let's see. I'll do some thinking. Don't really need it for warfare. It is worthy to note we could unlock ourselves a War Sun at this point, which would be pretty handy. But I don't think that's where we should concentrate our focus at the moment. I don't think it's good for industry because we don't really want to scrap a lot of things at the moment. We kind of want to claim a lot of things. Yeah. And we also have our expansion. We also have navigation. I think getting a relic would be pretty good idea at this point. So let's see if that is something that will help us. Yep, that definitely will. So let's go ahead and do our 3 explorers. 1, 2, and let's go ahead and just pick up some commodities along the way. Seems like a good idea. All right, we have done 3 explorers. Do a dice roll. All right. Setting these kind of aside, this is what we got to work with. So 4 more explorers, 5 more explorers. Oh boy, not quite how I wanted to pan out. I wanted to have some more claims. Let's go ahead and do all of our explorers. So let's go ahead and branch off into those so we can have access to planets. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. We are also getting next to another faction unlock, which is pretty useful. Doesn't look like we have a ton of use for gravity drive at this point, because we've explored a lot of our little neck of the galaxy. Alright, you go ahead and spend a trade good so that I can actually claim this. And now I get to have a relic from the relic deck. Before we do that, let's go ahead and spend our trade good from industry. And as we're going through this, keep in mind that's like you will not have all your sheets flying around like I am. I'm just doing this so that I can keep it zoomed in, because there's a lot of iconography going on. It can, I imagine, zoomed out, it'll be pretty confusing. Okay, here's our relic deck. We'll draw one off the top, and that'll be our relic. Dynamis Core. Play immediately. Claim 2 trade goods on industry, then cross out the next commodity of each type in your industry chart. Alright, that's pretty cool. Alright, so it's worth 6 points. So we'll put 6 points down on this relic planet. And we'll go ahead and go to our industry sheet and claim 2 trade goods. And then we'll cross out the next commodity of each type in my industry chart. So 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. Pretty handy. All right. Since we have those 2 extra trade goods, I think we'll do some claiming as well. Seems like a good idea. So let's go ahead and spend 2 trade goods. And let's claim some planets. Now, our prospector objective requires 5. Right now we have claimed 2, 3. So yeah, we can get it this round. Let's do it. We'll claim this planet and this planet with the 2 trade goods we just spent, because we're using them as that resource. All right, so now we've gotten prospector. That gives us 5 points. And we also don't have to worry about Le Dummy beating us on that front. Next event. Production. Claim 1 trade good on industry for each unlock plus 1 icon on your industry chart. That worked out pretty good with our relic we just got. That helped us get yet even more trade goods. All right, so here we have 4. So let's go ahead and circle in 4 more trade goods. Pretty swell. All right. All right. Another strategy. Desperate measures. I think we should go to our expansion board and start using those planet assets that we have accumulated. All right. So, first things first, I think we should probably start working on our expansion objective, which is Technocrat, which means we need those 4 specialty assets. this planet has 2 of them, so we're good there. And then this one has the other 2. This one also has some as well. But this one has the 2 that we'd be missing from that one. So let's go ahead and unlock this planet with one of our planet assets from navigation. And then seems like it might be a good idea to maybe burn some of these other planets to get more dice. Question is how many more other planets can we unlock? Looks like we've got at least 2 more we can unlock. So it won't hurt us too bad to probably unlock those dice and be able to do more stuff each round. So I think we'll go ahead and spend those. We'll have 3 space docks. And I think let's just go ahead and go heavy on the expansion. Seems like we've kind of been trailing on that one. Could use some more developments towards that objective. All right. Whew, okay, we've done our planet assets, so now we do, of course, our 3 pinks. And I would think, let's see. We have some specialty assets from Warfare. We have this one we can use to make a neural motivator. On each unlocked planet, cross out one of those resources in a row or column that has a population asset. I think that will definitely be a good idea, and population definitely has an accumulative effect on our points as we climb up it. So I think we should go ahead and spend this specialty asset. And while we're at it, let's just go ahead and spend this planet asset to unlock another planet. So we have a neuromotivator now, and we can unlock one of these other planets. So we got the 2 that will let us get that specialty tech. I think it would be a good idea to unlock one that has good population for us to use, and I think this one will probably be one of the easier ones to do it on. Okay, so having done that, let's do cross off our pink ones. Let's just go down this column, just get rid of a whole bunch. There we go. Now we'll do a dice roll. Okay. And then we can choose to use trade goods. And we also have the ones that are available to us, which are the pink and blue dice. So it looks like we got a lot of stuff we can cross off. First off, let's go ahead and do our neural motivator for this turn. So for each unlocked planet, cross out one of the things in a column, row, column that has a population asset. So this one, all right, there we go. We have unlocked a population asset. All right. And then this one also has a population asset. So let's go ahead and do this one for this column or row, and then we'll do this one for this row. And then on the next neuromotivator, let's see, we'll do this column and then this row. This one. Yep. All right, cool. We have used our neuromotivator. Now we can go ahead and use our dice. We can get pretty close to unlocking this tech, which would be pretty handy for us towards our objective. We also want to do this one. So let's use one of those to unlock that one. Let's use a trade good to hit one of those greens that we don't have a ton of. And then we'll go ahead and use this pink here. We have unlocked that specialty asset, which we can spend on other sheets. Let's see, we got this one. Let's go ahead and undo that on one of our populations. There we go.
And then finally, we've got 2 pinks and 2 blues we can use. So let's go ahead and do 2 pinks on this one, which is another population. And then we have 2 blues. Let's go ahead and do this one and this one. All right. Now, we still have some trade goods we could use, but I don't think that's going to get us necessarily to where we want this round. We just don't have enough trade goods to do that. So we'll call that good for this strategy phase. All right, moving along. Oh, we're going to have another vote. All right, council event. So let's hop over back to our industry. We will get 2 more votes. Grab our council cards. We'll get 1. Okay, so now we needed 1 that has a star on the bottom, not that one. All right, there we go. And we'll put a speaker card over that. All right, so these are our options. Pass. On expansion, each player crosses out all unclaimed assets on 1 planet. They must choose an unlocked planet that has at least 2 unclaimed assets if possible. Fail. On industry, each player spends 1 free trade good for each +1 trade good icon they currently have unlocked. So this one kind of punishes you for hoarding trade goods. And then this one lets you, let's see. On expansion, each player crosses out. They must choose an unlocked planet. Okay. Oh, these are free trade goods. Okay. So we want the fail on this one, because the fail is nice because we can get some free trade goods that we spend immediately, whereas the pass is going to mess us up on expansion, what we're kind of trying to do. So let's go ahead and see how many votes our dummy player has. We're in stage 4. I forgot to cross out to that. And I'm pretty sure last round I forgot to do these focus dice. So let's just go ahead and do those now. I'm sure we'll go back through the video. We'll see a lot of things I forgot to do. All right. So we have 3 votes. All right, we're on stage. Yep. Go. Plus 2. All right, that's not great. We have to beat 5 votes. This is also the last voting phase we'll have. So this might be more doable than all that. Oh, I have 5 votes. All right, well, let's just go ahead and burn all those votes to do a tie. And I'm actually not sure if that means we end up in a draw or if that means I automatically fail. Nope, we'll still get the negative outcome, so there's really no reason to spending those votes. But unless something comes up, I'll just leave those marked off. All right, so back to our event. We have to, on expansion, each player crosses out all unclaimed assets on 1 planet. They must choose an unlocked planet that has at least 2 unclaimed assets if possible. So this is going to be pretty bratty for us. It's not going to be the greatest. So let's go over to expansion. Yeah, we're just going to go this one. So we have to cross out all unclaimed assets. So this one won't be of terrible use to us anymore, unfortunately, but there's the breaks. Okay, next event. All right, another strategy. Also, we need to cross this out here, so let's just go and do that. All right. Now the question is, what do we want to do with this one? Could try to get some more planets. We could unlock our faction ability. That would be great. Currently, dummy AI players doing pretty good on warfare. Well, we're beating it, but it could escalate at any point. So It might be a good time to actually visit warfare, or we could keep working on our technocrat or our industry and get some more of those commodities. I think we're very close on industry, so let's hop over to industry and see what we can do with that. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that so we can do a claim. Let's go ahead and claim. Let's see, we got 2. Yep, so we get 1 more blue. We'll have 3 blues. So we'll do that. So that's our claim. All right, here we go. Got our 3 black dice and our focus dice. All right. We need 1 red and 1 yellow claimed to do this. So let's go ahead and claim a yellow. We already did I forgot to cross off the blue, so there we go. Awesome. We're doing great on trade goods. And then we have 1 more claim we can do. So let's go ahead and get the last red we need. And that'll give us diversified production. So we'll go ahead and put 5 on the sheet. Let's see, what else do we want? More dice would be great. We have 2 scraps we can use to start moving around towards that goal. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 and 2. Okay. We have spent all of our dice resources, but we still have 3 trade goods we can use however we want. It seems like that could be a pretty good option for us. So let's go ahead and do that. I think we'll claim 1 green dice. And we'll go ahead and claim this blue dice. Those trade goods. Not sure where we want to put them right now. Probably towards expansion when we do that again, because we really want to get that technocrat objective. All right, so let's go ahead and do our dummy player. So we'll do 1 pink die, 1 blue die. Oh, I accidentally. We done? Yeah, we did the final vote, so we're good there. So in that case, we don't need to worry about it, I believe. Actually, I think, yeah, now it just switches down here. And then expansion. All right, cool. Yeah. And good thing, too, because we're almost there on industry. Okay. Okay, moving along. Oh, here we are. War. Oh, I think we lucked out on that front. The dummy AI hasn't moved a ton on that, but oh, actually, nope, we did not luck out. We have not done nearly enough on warfare to beat out the dummy. They are at 5, and we are at 3 on both sides. Oh, I forgot to do the deployment line first, and then we do all that. So unfortunately, I'm not going to win the war this round. We get -2 points. Guess that's what happens sometimes. I'm not paying attention. All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right. Strategy, rightful claim. I kind of feel bad that fleet logistics has just not been something I've been doing much with, but that's just where we're at. All right, let's see. What sheet do we want to do? I think we want to do navigation, get some more planets, and get our faction ability triggered so we can have some cruisers for the inevitable last war. So let's do that. We're going to choose navigation. All right, so we get to claim 2. So let's go ahead and claim that planet there. And then Industry, we're not exactly hurting for commodities. At the same time, you get bonus points for climbing really high on the commodity track. I think, though, we're going to go for the points. We'll get this one for 2 points. Okay. 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 We can do 2 claims, and then we've got 2 explorers. So that is not too bad. We can use trade good to make up the difference. So I think we'll do that. So we'll go 1 explorer, 2 explorer, 3 explorer. And I'll go to my trade good and cross it off. You can trust that I'm not lying about it. We are out of trade goods, though. And then we'll do 1 claim, 2 claim. All right. That triggers our ambush ability. So here we go. Haha. And we'll go to our warfare sheet and deploy 2 cruisers. Okay. So let's go ahead and do 1 on this side, kind of approaching both of these. We'll do 1 here. All right. And that is that turn. All right, next up. Okay, so let's go ahead and do expansion. We'll cross out these 2. Keep working towards that technocrat, get some of these specialties. In this case, another commodity can't hurt. Roll some dice, here we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and unlock these guys to do everything on expansion because we really want to just move that one along fast. See if we can get it before the end of the game. And let's go ahead and start spinning things. I think, let's see, maybe we group them. That might help. Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and do our neural motivator first. So that one on each unlocked planet, cross out one of those. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do that one, and that one, and then that one, and then there's one there too, so we'll do that one. Fun stuff. All right, there's one there too. All right, so that's another population. Okay, so we've done a neuromotivator. Now we can do these guys. So we definitely want to work on tech. So we're going to do 2 pinks and 1 green to unlock that one. Oh, we also unlocked this population. Didn't even notice. There we go. Okay, and then 1 pink and then 1 more. There we go. Alright, so that unlocks that one and that one, which means we have now hit every specialty asset, which means we got Technocrat, so that's 7 points, because we beat the AI. Oh, wait. Nope, apparently I missed one. Let's go ahead and spend a trade good to do that. I'll cross it off on industry. Okay. Phew. All right, there we go. Now we can keep moving along. All right, so we got all those, but now it seems like a good idea to try to get as much population as we can, get some points. So let's spend that one. And then we have 1 more green. Do any of our population assets have a green near them? Don't really see that, so maybe we'll just cross it off on a random board there. All right, so that's all our things. We can also start using some trade goods. Now we're getting near the end of the game. It definitely seems like a good idea to just get as much population as we can for now. So I have 5 trade goods left, and I think I'm going to use a bunch of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. We squeezed an awful lot out there. But I think it'll be definitely worth it point-wise. Like I said, population ramps up pretty fast, so it's a good idea to use it. All right, and then we need to do our dummy player. You'll get 1 here because that blue track is finished up. 2 on pink. All right, it's finished the navigation one. Don't need to really worry about that anymore. In fact, generally speaking, the only thing we need to worry about, since we've already been first on all the objectives, is anything that increases their military. All right, this one is a special event. It basically says this round ends immediately. The game will have 1 more strategy event. So it's letting you know that we're almost there. Then we're going to have a strategy event, and then we're going to have a war. Girded for war. War, war, war. I like war. Don't know if I love it. Name the quote. All right. So, knowing that, I think it might be a good time to bulk up for warfare. Really just make sure. Currently the AI is at 6, so we definitely won't win this war unless we beef up. So I can't build any cruisers, so that's a bit of a drag with our 3 pink icons. Now we've got specialty assets, so I think I'll go ahead and spend those. So we have, let's see, we need the red one for a War Sun, so let's go ahead and spend that one. And then we need a green for, or I'm sorry, green for a War Sun, red for the Dreadnought. And there we are. All right, cool. So we spent those. So now we have Dreadnoughts and War Suns unlocked. And let's go ahead and start using those pinks on those. Let's see, do we have any dice assets still available for us to use? Yep, we got a green and a blue, so let's spend those to beef up our warfare this round. I could wait till I see the dice rolls, but there's really no point, so let's go ahead and just go into it. Speaking of, we can also unlocks these technologies. I'm pretty sure we have gotten them during our expansion. So yeah, we can get transit diodes by spending that specialty asset, and then if we can also spend this one to do fleet logistics. Why not? We're just going to go wild. We have fleet logistics, we have transit diodes. Okay, let's go ahead and spend our 3 pinks. So I think, as much fun as, well, War Suns are worth a lot of points. I think let's work on 1 War Sun and do 2 on a Dreadnought. And let's see what our rolls give us. Okay. This is what we've got to work with. Worked out pretty good for getting ourselves a War Sun out. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll spend 2 blues and 2 greens, and that's 4 points. We have a War Sun. Where's a good place to put a War Sun? There isn't a ton of room for one. I might have made a tactical error here. Those anomalies are a little frustrating. Yeah, I might have boxed myself out of having a War Sun, actually. All right, let's pretend none of this ever happened, huh? I won't tell if you won't tell. Now, if you were playing a real game, things you spent here, I mean, they're gone, so no backsies. So we'll just say I spent all those towards Dreadnoughts instead. All right. So now I have to the greens, so let's go ahead and just cross those out. So I have one Dreadnought. All right, where do I want to stick this Dreadnought? Let's go ahead and get our point there. We start adjacent there to do it. Okay. And then we'll use this guy to unlock another Dreadnought. We'll put that one here. That's adjacent as well, so we're good there. And then use this one to do a PDS. Yeah, seems like probably next best thing. So let's go ahead and do a PDS. We'll do a PDS here. She just got very angry near the end of the game. Mentak did. They did not like losing that last war one bit. So that's one PDS. We'll do another PDS. And I guess we'll just stick it on this one for good measure. And then we have one infantry. Doesn't really matter much. Just put them here. All right. Since we have fleet logistics, we also get to add 3 strength if there are at least 2 non-infantry units deployed within this war section. And we're definitely there. Let's go ahead and use our transit diodes. We get to put down 2 infantry. Now, one cool thing it lets you do is you can do it below the deployment line. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get that guy. And then we'll add 1 infantry here. We'll have the same number on both those sides. Works out pretty cool. My definition of cool may vary from other people's. Okay. And finally, this is the last event. A throne for the taking, buddy. All right. So we're going to do our final war. Deployment line, yay! All right. So dummy player. Oh, I forgot to add this from last time. So dummy players is a strength of 8. So right here we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 3. Bit of overkill. The other side has the same amount, so 16 on both sides. We thoroughly munch on the dummy player. All right. And then from there, we're just going to count up all the points. Whoever has the most wins. Usually, in the case of a single player, it's mostly if you beat a certain number, it gives you certain descriptions of how well you did. So over here, you'll see the different things. So for easy, we just have to make 40 points to consider it not a loss. We'll easily get that one. All right, so let's add up. Let's just start with warfare. We're on it. All right, so we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if I make mistakes, make sure to laugh and point your finger. I will see it over the internet. Oh, you got to, because I forgot these dreadnoughts. So 4 points more. So 17. 22 points on my warfare sheet. Okay. Then we'll move on to expansion. Here you're just basically doing the population track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 28. Making 35. We did pretty swell on expansion. Over on navigation, we got 6, 8, 10, 14, 21. Plus our objective, 26 points. All right, and then finally, but not last, or least, it is definitely last, industry. Okay, let's see. So going over here, we actually didn't do so as great with industry. We basically just got 3 points. So kind of got our commodities and then ran. Okay. And then we'll add up all those. And we'll see how we did against our easy AI. So we got, let's see, 34, 69, nice, 71, 81. Not the best score in the world, but it's points. So if we, again, that's definitely a winning score. You just beat 40. Let's see, Galactic Power. All right, cool. Go us. We did all right. And that is a full game, solo game, of Mechatol Rex. And again, the real difference between it and more players really is just you don't do the dummy AI tracking. So if you flip the sheet, it's much simpler. It also has a little pass-fail thing for votes when you do the voting thing. And the votes work just normal, where you just draw 1 card for whatever stage you're in, and everyone secretly votes, and then you resolve them. I hope you liked going through the whole game with me. This is definitely my favorite roll and write. It's very meaty in comparison to some of them, and it's definitely more epic. It's longer, and with a table full of people, you can see how it can get pretty big and epic. It's a little less on interaction than Twilight Imperium, obviously. I would say the similarities to Twilight Imperium are fairly superficial. Like, if someone were to ask me how much is it like Twilight Imperium, I would have to tell you like 20%, 30%. A lot of the flavor comes from playing different factions, and so that certainly helps. There is some pretty good back and forth sometimes with some of the votes. Like, you can try to screw particular players, because usually the ones that are bad you don't necessarily want to have go bad unless it's something that you don't care about, and it's definitely going to hamper other players more. Anyway, love this game. Definitely one of my favorites. I'd say it's definitely one of my favorite roll and writes, and I encourage you to give it a try, and hopefully I helped you learn the game. Go ahead and feel like and subscribe to my channel, LabGnome, and I plan to do more videos in the future, maybe one that's more of a quick rundown, quick review, as opposed to a full playthrough. And I will also kind of get into more meat and potatoes, if you will, on the different factions, kind of treat it with the in-depth love that a lot of people have given Twilight Imperium. I would love to do that. And of course, I'll cover other games or events or whatever sprinkles your fancy.